Guys, welcome to the Bird Brain Podcast, where the goal is to rise above it all, stay elevated, create that infinity, and up your you. I'm your host, Isaiah, and today we are talking about, when you say, I've had enough, well, what does that actually mean? When you're tired, you're frustrated, and you're just kind of ran down, you finally say, I've had enough. What's really going on there? How are you? Happy Monday, or whenever you're listening to this. First of all, I want to shout out new Patreon supporter, Nicole. Miss Nicole, shout out. Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure to have you. There's always room for more, and I appreciate you taking up space on this podcast. If you want to become a Patreon supporter, head on over to Patreon, or if you want to become an Apple Podcast supporter, head on over to Apple Podcasts. Now that we got that out of the way, there was a point over the weekend when I was in my car, and I was like, you know what? I've had enough. I've had enough. And what does that actually mean, right? Because when we say that, it's us saying, hey, I'm tired of these things continually happening. But in actuality, what that means is I am not receiving enough of something to make me feel at peace. Emotional fatigue, physical fatigue, mental fatigue, spiritual fatigue. It's all you saying, hey, I am not being filled. I'm not being filled properly. And I've had enough of not being filled, right? When we say I've had enough, the undercurrent of that or the subtext of that is I haven't had enough of what I need. I'm not receiving what I need, right? If you're the person, if you have a tendency to be a fixer, you probably hit this point more often than most people because why? You're always trying to make sure everybody else is filled up. And you can't pour from an empty cup, yes, but understand this. Taking care of yourself also needs reinforcement. If you're around people and only people or only situations that extract from you instead of pouring into you, then you're never going to be full. You're never going to be full. And your way of doing that and filling yourself back up is kind of taking a step back, taking inventory, right? Seeing what's going on, seeing what you actually need, seeing what you're not receiving. What am I not receiving enough of? That's the real question. Because the declaration is like, hey, I've had enough. And when we actually do that, what we fail to realize is that it's a cry. It's a cry for, hey, can you hear me now? Do you see me now? Right? Why am I not being seen? Why does it take me getting to this point for somebody to actually recognize, if somebody recognizes at all? If I myself finally recognize, right? It's an inside job, yes, but we also have to understand how we outwardly navigate life is also important, right? You reach a point in your journey where you do kind of hit a wall because there are certain things that you've been trying that just aren't working. Maybe it's relationships, right? Maybe it's friendships. Maybe it's work, right? Maybe it's a pursuit that you have, right? All of these things seem as if they're just not doing me any service. They're just taking away from me. Well, how can we pivot from that? Because truth be told, when you reach that point, that's information, right? That's information. And also, what's funny is that all the balls you're juggling, they just kind of fall. Literally, you don't have the bandwidth or the energy to keep sustaining this kind of situation that you've been existing in or going in the way that you were going. When I was driving, like I said, I was just like, I got nothing. I have nothing. And that's okay. Because again, if you allow that nothingness to be an indication of so much that's going on, you can now reframe. You can now reposition yourself and say, it's not that I've just had enough. There are things that I need. I'm in need of something. And then you take your time and you figure out what is it that I actually need. Do I need more companionship? Do I need healthier relationships? Do I need a different pursuit altogether? Where am I pouring my time? Where am I pouring of myself? What does that look like? How is it taking care of me? How does it feel in my body? Right? Because when you reach that I've had enough point, you kind of stop caring about a lot of things. Certain things don't concern you. But you should never be one of those things that you stop caring about. Does that make sense? Sometimes it looks like burnout. Sometimes it looks like, and it could be burnout, right? It could also be depression creeping up. It could be a myriad of things. But the most important thing that you can do is be mindful of that, right? Someone I heard, they called it emotional fatigue. Emotional fatigue. Because you're tired. You're tired emotionally. You're running a script. Mentally, you're running a script. And it's just so many things happening and nothing seems to be happening for you in the way that you need. So what can you do about that, right? How do we go from there? How do we fix that? Well, we slow down, right? If you find the things that are starting to get out of order, let's say, for example, like if you usually keep a neat space, you're starting to notice that that's kind of getting by you. That's not there anymore. The neat space is kind of becoming chaos. Well, that's an outward projection of what's going on in here, right? The neglect of a lot of things. Are you eating? That's also a projection of what's going on inside. You feel empty. So how could you possibly nurture yourself, right? It's important to be mindful of the little clues that we get in our lives because we don't always see what's going on inside of ourselves, but our external environment will reflect that. Do you find yourself getting a little bit more agitated and resentful or just bitter or begrudging even? What does that mean for me? What is that telling me? I'm hurt by something. Something is weighing on me. Something is really taking a lot of me and I don't know what to do. And right now I'm just so frustrated. I am tired or I've had enough. But in reality, I just haven't been receiving enough of what I need to be at peace, to feel functional, to be present. And now it's about time I recognize that. Okay, so if you're in this space right now where it's like you've had enough, reframe it. Say, what do I need more of? Because I had enough is very easy, but it's also very general. Like, what have you had enough of? I've had enough of not receiving what I need. I've had enough of not getting or getting what I need or meeting my own needs, right? Or being in the spaces where nothing's happening or, pursuing something and I'm frustrated because I feel like things are not playing out the way that I had hoped. Right? And I'm discouraged, right? I'm overwhelmed. I feel undervalued. All of these things are truly under that umbrella of I had enough. I don't feel like I'm enough. But you are. So I want you to consider these things the next time you say, I've had enough. Instead say, well, what do I need more of? Because I've had enough is kind of like a white flag, right? I'm done. I'm over it. Can't be done with yourself, right? You need you. So you have to say, you know what do I need more of? What am I not getting enough of? How can I get that? Just think about that, guys, and take your time this week if you are in that space because, like I said, whenever this starts to happen, I've had enough or I'm done, I give up, that's information. And it could be a very positive thing for you because it's usually you responding to something and saying, hey, we need a change. Something needs to be different here. And we're going to figure it out. All right? So think about that. Okay? And in the meantime, just take care of yourselves. Click that link. Subscribe. All right? Take care of each other. And take flight.